Welcome back to the Leadership Momentum Sprint. I'm Isaac Wambua, and today we're building one more piece of your leadership foundation. Every day is another step toward clarity, confidence, and unstoppable momentum. Let's jump in.
Welcome to day 5 of our Leadership Momentum Sprint. And today we are talking about one of the most important and potentially most emotional transitions you'll ever experience in your career. And that is from being a peer to being a leader, from being an individual contributor to being the person also responsible for other people's performance, from being an employee to being a manager. This isn't just an operational shift, it's identity shift, it's relational, it's how people see you, it's how they interpret your actions and your attitude and your behavior, it's how they get to interact with you. It kind of changes a little bit. So when you are an employee or a peer working with them, being one of them, relationships are usually a little bit different. The interactions are different. The way you get to chat with them is different. But the moment you become a leader, things shift a little bit, whether you like it or not. And that's what we are going to discuss today. So let's get to the lesson. We are talking about the peer to leader shift. There's going to be that shift. And if you've been a part of this training, this is day number 5 of our leadership momentum sprint. You know that this training is based on the new revision of my very first book that I wrote in 2022, which is Now That I'm a Manager, What Do I Do Next? And this is the book. I believe you can see it. I just revised this book here in November 2025 and got approved by the publisher. I'm going to be launching this book in January, but I decided to create a 30-day leadership momentum sprint so we can add value to you because you've been a part of our network. Or if this is your first time interacting with us, then you are in for a treat. So this lesson from peer to leader is based on page number 19, and we talk about the credibility curve. So I'm going to read this for you real quick if that's okay with you. So every new leader experiences what I call the credibility curve, the emotional timeline between appointment and acceptance. It's the place between you've got the job and you've earned my trust, and that is from your employees. It takes me back to the very first actual management job that I got was right after college. I was given 65 people to lead. And one of the things I experienced was my employees, most of the times when they had a problem, they wouldn't come to me. They would just go to my boss. And that drove me crazy. I figured I didn't know much. I didn't have enough credibility with them, probably no credibility at all. Yes, I was a fresh graduate, I had a degree, but I didn't have leadership credibility. That particular job, I didn't stay there for long because I was not performing. Then I went to a different company. I failed as well. And it wasn't probably 5, 6 years later that I came to learn about the principles of leadership. And leadership is not about telling people what to do or demanding they respect you. It's about finding a way to influence them so that they can get to work with you. Of course, not for you, but work with you to get the results that they're looking for. So you have to earn people's trust. And that's what I wrote on page 19 of this book. That curve is built on 3 pillars, and that's what we are going to talk about. And that's competence, character, and care. So the peer to leader shift, build credibility through competence, character, and care. So let me break it down for you. Why does this shift matter to you, to your company, and really to the team that you're working with? Number one, being promoted does not automatically create leadership credibility. I've known this to be true. One of the people that I've had the privilege to study and learn under is John Maxwell and his organization. I'm certified through the Maxwell Leadership and really got certified more than 10 years ago. And there's a book called Developing the Leader Within You. Chapter 1 actually talks about leadership being influenced. It talks about the 5 levels of leadership. And the very bottom level is position level, where people follow you and act on what you ask them to do based on your position. They do what you ask them to do because you have a title. You're a manager, you're a supervisor, you're an executive. And that's okay. We all start from there, but you shouldn't stay there. So you got to go to the second level, which is the permission level. And on this level, people follow you and listen to you because you have a relationship with them. That's the key word. They like you like them, you're providing resources, really, you're being a good manager to them. And you may not be the most experienced person, you may not have all the answers. They may still need to go to your boss, but at least they like you. So that's the permission level. And then you go to the next level, which is production level. And this is where the magic starts happening. And this level is called the production level. And people follow you, listen to you, they allow you to lead them because of the results that you are getting for the team, for the organization, for the company. On this level, you are highly experienced. Most likely, you are what we call the answer man or the answer woman. You're good at what you do. Now, that's a good level to be at because you have enough credibility. They say Justin is a great guy. He has all the answers. We go to him, but it can also be a trap. And that's what we are going to talk about here in a second. When you become the person that people always come to, it can get a little exhausting. So you got to go to the next level, which is training and development. And on that level, people follow you because of what you are doing for them. You are training them, you are mentoring them, you are providing resources, you are empowering them to be able to stand on their own. Potentially at that point, you have some team leaders or you have some managers underneath you, and you are empowering them. Now, that's the level where magic happens for the people that you are leading. Because one of the things I discovered is that if you can find a way to help your team members become better at what they do in terms of skills and attitude and the ability to get the job done, it's a gift to them, but it's also a gift to the company. If they ever leave that company, which at some point they will, then nobody can take away that skill from them and what you've taught them. So it's a gift you are giving them, but at the same time, for the time that they are working with you, they are going to help you get better results. And the next level, which is the highest level, is called the pinnacle level. And on this level, people follow you and listen to you and allow you to lead them because of who you are and what you represent. It stops being about what you can do and your role and your title. It's all about what you represent. For me, I call that becoming a multiplier leader who has built a good legacy. You've trained people and you don't have to depend on your title. So, back to this particular point here, being promoted, having a position does not automatically create leadership credibility. So why this shift matters. Former peers now expect clarity, fairness, and consistency. So you got to make that shift from being a peer to being a leader. They expect that. One of the things we've been talking about the last 4 days is that you need to be very clear on what you want as a leader and what you expect from other people. You need, to an extent, demand clarity from your senior leaders, the people you're trying to influence up. If you go back to lesson number 1 and 2, we talked about the sphere of influence where you're influencing up, across, and down. You need to ask for that clarity because when you are clear on what you're supposed to do and what to focus on, you are likely to move a little bit faster. And whether you like it or not, people and companies expect you to get results faster, not because we are greedy, but we can move to the next thing and, of course, continue helping people out there. The next reason why this shift from peer to leader matters is because the real shift is internal. It's all about the identity. It's not just a positional shift, there's an identity shift that's going to happen from fitting in to leading forward. So think about the first time you got promoted or you became a leader for the team that you lead, whether it's 5 or 500 people. Initially, it gets a little bit hard because you have people that you've worked with for probably 2, 3, 5 years, and they are friends. They laugh at your jokes. You probably get out and grab coffee together. You get to hang out. Basically, they have become your friends, and now you become a manager, and you are likely to be a little conflicted because you're like, okay, do I continue being friends with them, or do I need to shift and become the manager and the leader I'm supposed to be? The key thing is you don't have to switch all of a sudden and be the muscle manager. You don't necessarily laugh at their jokes. Obviously, they need to be appropriate jokes. I hope the company doesn't promote someone who doesn't have integrity and basically following the policies and doing the right thing, especially for the people around them. You don't have to cut them off. You don't have to drastically shift and be a different person. It's a shift from being a peer to being a leader. And in this case, you leading forward, providing resources, mentoring them, asking them to help you out. And if you read this book, Now That I'm a Manager, What Do I Do Next? You'll be able to learn how to do that. By the way, you don't have to get the book. This training is self-sufficient, but if you want to get a copy, you can go to Amazon, just search my name. I think you can see it on the screen. And one of the books you're going to find is this book. So let's talk about the credibility triangle. We said for you to have a successful shift, from being a peer to being a leader, you have to build credibility. You have to earn that credibility. And it's simple. There are only three things that you need to have in place. And I'll walk you through these one by one. Number one is competence. And competence is all about knowing what you need to do. You really have to be good at what you do. You need to get yourself to level number three at the minimum, whereby you know what you're supposed to do. Yes, you can have a team member in your team who knows how to do some things better than you, but at least you should know how to do those things. I have several team members, and there's someone who started working with us 4 months ago. She does graphic design and marketing funnels for us. For a long time, we had the social media manager just doing the graphics. And then I asked this particular person to do some graphics for one of our clients. I looked at them and they're just amazing because we went to an event that this client of mine was hosting and everyone was raving about those graphics. I said, okay, I can ask this person to do graphics for us. So the other day, I asked them to do video thumbnails for us. They said, yeah, I can do that. All I did is provide the branding colors. And trust me, I looked at those thumbnails and I remember saying to myself, there's no way I can do this even in a million years. Yes, I know how to do graphics here and there. I can get, some things put together, but that's not my thing. Yes, I know what I want precisely, how it needs to look like, but I have someone in my team who can get it done. So what I'm asking you is not to be the go-to person to have to do everything or better than anyone else, but at least you need to have some knowledge of it. So competence is the first thing you need to have in place, then character, and then care. So let's go through this one by one. Competence. This just requires you to be able to do the job well. You got to be able to do the job with excellence. That's competence. And that's going to be the first thing. The second thing is character. You should be able to do what you say you will do. Basically, keep your word. They should be able to trust you. And you start with your team members. One of the things I learned more than 10 years ago, and actually I learned this from my boss. She said, as leaders, we have two kinds of customers. And she said, we have the internal customer and we have the external customer. The internal customer is our team members. It's the employees that work with us. It's the people that we are trying to influence. And to an extent, of course, your peers can be part of your customer base, but primarily your internal customers are your employees. And then we have the external customer, which is the customer for the company, the people that buy our services and our products. And she said, if you take care of your internal customer, then your external customer is going to be taken care of. And she said, if you focus on just taking care of that employee, making sure they have the resources, making sure they feel like they belong, making sure that they are understood and they don't have to walk on eggshells, whether they perform or not, then they're going to be loyal to you. And that's one of the things she was very big on. So being able to do what you say you're going to do, keeping your promises. And if you drop the ball, go to your employees and say, hey, I messed up. Let's do it again. Credibility is you being able to support your team fairly and objectively. Let me break it down for you. Being fair is relative, and what people call fair has nothing to do with being fair at work. And to keep things very objective, some of the employees are going to catch on really fast. Others are going to need more help from you. It depends on their experience level, their personality, and their ability to grasp things. You got to be careful not to make people feel like they're slow or they're not smart enough. Some people will need more support than others. So that's where the fairness comes in, where you can customize the help to that particular person. Being objective is being able to assess that does this person really need my help or not? Are they asking for help because they're being lazy, because they don't want to do the work, or is it because they don't know? Or is it an attitude problem? So you have to be very objective, and to an extent, they need to know what your style is. That way, you can have an agreed upon process of doing things, and that's going to make your life easier. So those three things, which is competence, character, and credibility. When you think about transitioning from being an employee to being a manager, being a peer to becoming a leader, it gets a little sticky because this is something I learned because I've gone through those transitions myself from being a regular employee to being a supervisor, from a supervisor to a manager to an executive, and really at some point being someone in charge of a whole region for training and development. Basically, it's just a fancy way of saying I was a guy who was supposed to do everything and anything because if my managers didn't know, or at least they were shorthanded, I would jump in and help, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But it gave me a chance to add value to as many people as possible, basically a bigger platform. But it gets a little sticky when you get promoted today, and your company or your boss will be like, hey, now you are one of us. Okay, you're part of leadership, and that means you cannot be on the side of the employees, or you need to be on this side. And that just creates a lot of friction. I don't think there should be them and us. There shouldn't be top management and the employees. It's one team. Yes, the roles and the functions are different, but it should be one particular team. So what I recommend is, if you happen to be a senior leader who has promoted someone, sit down with them and say, hey, congratulations on being a part of the leadership team. Thank you for accepting the position. And you need to say thank you, because not every employee wants to become a leader. I get to talk to so many employees who seem to have potential, and they go like, I don't want to be a manager because I see what my manager goes through, always stressed out, always screaming, always yelling. I don't want to be that kind of a person. Obviously, that manager who is screaming and yelling hasn't been taught how to lead. But I've seen some of these senior executives, including business owners, create a wedge between the employees and the management. It should be one team. In any case, the middle manager, like we established, they are more like a bridge. They are interpreters of the vision. They get the vision from the top management, they digest that information, and then they pass it on to the employees in a timely manner, and also without losing the weight of the message. So this is day 5 worksheet. And by the way, every single day there's a worksheet that you can download. There should be a link somewhere underneath this video, or if you're watching this live, there's a link somewhere for you to download the worksheet. So section number 1, where do you feel the biggest shift? What has changed the most since becoming a leader? So think about, again, the first time you step into that particular role, and right now, whether it was 2 months ago or a year ago or even 5 years ago, what has changed? Obviously, your skill level has gone higher. You become more comfortable being able to stand in front of people and articulate your points. Maybe you've learned how to hold people accountable and give them feedback, but what has changed the most since becoming a leader? Section number 2, we talked about the credibility triangle. This is a self check for you. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 5 in each of those 3 areas, 1 being the weakest and 5 being strong. Competence. How competent are you? Can you get the job done? If one of your key team members was to call in today or they get sick, can you step in and get the job done? Even if you are not the best person in terms of the skill, can you facilitate that and get the job done? Number 2 is the character. Can you do what you said you are going to do? And that's a big one. And if you're not sure whether you have the character, it might be helpful for you to ask someone else, a colleague or one of your employees, if you're comfortable to do that. And then care. Do you support them fairly and objectively? So, what's your strongest area and why? Is it competence? Is it character? Or is it care? And then section number 3 is what area needs improvement? You choose one. So competence, character, and care. Pick one of those and then decide what is it you are going to do. From my assessment, the easiest to work on and to an extent fix very quickly, it's going to be competence. You can start working on that. A skill is something that can be learned. So if there are some areas that you're not sure what to do, then you need to improve on that. And it could be, for you as a leader, your ability to get people to rally behind your vision, or to give people feedback, or to address conflicts, being able to facilitate the process of resolving conflicts. It could be running meetings, which again, we have a whole chapter, by the way, on this book on how to run effective meetings. And the logic behind it is that a meeting is not just a way to spend time, it's a way to rally people behind the vision and get moving forward. So basically, a meeting, it's a huge business function. So competence, I think, can be improved very quickly. It might take a while before you get there, but you can start today and it's not going to cost you much. Second, after that, is the care. It's basically slowing down and asking yourself, am I being fair? Am I being objective? And if there's an aspect of potentially favoring some people, especially the high performers, we sometimes we let them get away with stuff because they are bringing results. I was listening to someone the other day, and they were asked a question: if you were given a chance to retain a high performer who has a bad attitude and a moderate performer who has a very good attitude, which one would you retain? And he said, without blinking, I would retain the moderate performer, because if someone is a high performer and have a bad attitude, it's going to spread across my team, and I don't want that. And it takes a lot of guts, and especially people that are focused on results and performance. And I get it. Every company needs to focus on that. But in the long run, your biggest benefit is going to come from someone who has character. So If in your case you find yourself not being fair or objective, then that's something you can take care of very quickly. And then, of course, character is all about being able to do what you said you're going to do. Sometimes we found ourselves not following through or doing what we said we are going to do because we are strapped on time. You are busy, your schedule is busy and pulled in all directions, by the way. It's not easy to keep consistency, but it's worth it, especially if it's something to do with your team. Yes, we expect them to stay consistent, and that means we need to stay consistent as well. So that's the worksheet for the lesson today. So let's get back to your task. So, one of the things I would recommend you do is to understand the emotional shift from peer to leader. That means if you just got the promotion or you've had it for a while, but you're still a little conflicted, just understand that it's normal for you to go through that emotional roller coaster. It gets a little dicey because, again, you've been a contributor for so long and now you just become a leader. And sometimes there's some misconceptions about being a leader. You'll feel like you need to be the bad guy, you need to be the one writing people up or doing the performance improvement plans. And potentially you're going to have to do that at some point, but it doesn't have to be all dramatic. You don't have to be mean about that. You can lead people and have fun at the same time. That's my advocacy. I believe leadership is usually fun when people know that you care about them. They know that you're doing the best that you can and whatever it takes to make sure they are okay, but you're also going to hold them accountable. I'll tell you a quick story. I read a book called The 12-Week Year, and it's by a guy called Moran. I can't remember his first name. Basically, the gist of the book is you have 4 quarters in the year: Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. If you can take the goals that you have and then you decide that for the next 12 weeks, that's going to be my whole year. So the logic behind it is that most of the times we start the year, let's say 2026, it's coming up here in a few weeks, and we do okay in the beginning of the year. We are so excited, and then somehow second quarter we slow down, and third quarter, and then come to fourth quarter we go like we gotta go hard and make sure we hit our goals. So he says, if you can take your 12-week goals and assume that the 12 weeks is a whole year, it means you're going to work with the same intensity as if you are in Q4, which is a very good analogy. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to stress yourself out. The reason I'm telling you this story, I mentioned that you need to be able to hold people accountable. What he said is that people like being held accountable because it reminds them of the goals they have. It reminds them of the promises they made. It reminds them of the thing they said they're going to do. So, hypothetically, let's say one of my employees comes to me. My team and I, we are very close. So, I get to know what their dreams are. Some people want to buy a home, some people want to retire. So, if someone comes to me and we start talking about their goals and they say, hey, I want to make more money here in about maybe 6 months to a year. I want to be able to make more money. Then I'll find a way for them to make more money through my company, not to give away money for free, but to find a way for them to do a more valuable task or a more valuable project or be able to occupy a more valuable position. And that means it's going to come with more pay, potentially bonuses, and that means they're going to make more money. So if I go back to holding them accountable, they say they want to make more money. I give them this position and then I hold them accountable to do what that position requires. Then ideally, they have no reason to be mad at me because they told me what they want. For them to get there, in this context, they need to be able to do A, B, C. And what Brian says in this book, The 12-Week Year, is that when you hold people accountable, actually you're doing them a favor and they are likely to like you more because you're reminding them of the promises that they made, but also the goals that they have for themselves. So you got to understand there's going to be an emotional shift when you're moving from being a peer to being a leader. Number two, you need to evaluate your credibility foundation. We talked about rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, 5 the highest. And then number three, you need to identify one area to strengthen this month. Just pick one and work on it for the next 30 days to say, I'm going to work on my competence, refine a few areas that I feel like I'm lacking. And then you go to the next one and the next one. And that's how you'll be able to build momentum. Just to remind you, leadership momentum sprint that we are doing is for 30 days. And the goal is to help you to build momentum as a leader so that come the new year or whenever you decide to do this leadership sprint, you'll be able to have enough leverage, enough momentum to keep moving forward. Going back to a book I read by John Maxwell called Developing the Leaders Around You, it talks about momentum. And he says that when you have momentum, you look better than you are. When you don't have momentum, you look worse than you are. So, in your case, as we help you to build momentum in your leadership, come 2026, you're going to look better than you are, which is okay because you've been working on it. It only becomes a problem when you kind of slow down and the momentum goes down, and now you have to start over again. If not for anything else, stay consistent. The momentum is going to be there, and you're going to have an easier time as you lead people. Your people are going to have an easier time following you as their leader, and your company definitely is going to have a ball with you because you're going to help them get results, and hopefully you're going to be rewarded for that. That's it for today's training. And as we wind up, let me just say that if you've been with me these 5 days, congratulations. If you missed a day, it's okay. Go back and watch the replays, do the homework, and keep on building your momentum. It's not easy to stay consistent for a whole 30 days. It's hard. Even for me to be able to produce these lessons, I'm doing them as they come. Potentially down the road, I'll be able to batch them. But yeah, this is day 5. I've been doing this every single day. It's a little bit of pressure. And yesterday, I had so much going on in the business and demands on my time. And since I had promised my team that this lesson was going to be ready by 12:30, I was like, okay, I got to do it. And it was easy because I have a system on how to do it. Consistency and being able to do things the way you're supposed to do or follow through is not very easy. But I'm really proud of what you're doing, sticking with this training. And as you build this momentum, I know you're going to benefit from it. So thank you again for joining me for this training. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.